The wind moaned through the stone hall, carrying whispers of lost souls. The evening shadows were long, stretching like regrets across the ground. The past, they said, is a prison without walls. In a forgotten cell of the monastery, Sister Marcella held her silence like a lover kissed goodnight. Days blurred into nights, and behind unyielding walls she felt the weight of unread books pressing against her heart. "They think silence is solace," she whispered, her voice a sigh lost to the shadows. Outside, prayers permeated the air, rolling over the land like distant thunder. The other sisters poured their lives into the rituals, sewing and herb gathering, while she delved into dusty tomes. Each page she turned echoed with the yearning of her spirit. But freedom often wears the guise of chains, forging a bond deeper than iron. The library was her sanctuary, a forgotten cathedral of lost words. She was a thief in the grand design, seeking the secrets buried beneath ink and silence. "You ought to focus on your prayers, child," Sister Dominica warned, leaning in, her voice low and knowing. "What if the truth is the greatest prayer?" Marcella retorted, a spark of defiance flaring in her chest. The elder woman's eyes hardened like the stone that formed the abbey's walls. There were things not meant to be unearthed, things that could ignite a fire in the deadened hearts of the faithful. Knowledge can burn, and ash holds remnants of those lost to its flames. One fateful day, curiosity led her to a forgotten crate in the archives. Beneath layers of dust lay papers, verdicts, not from the outside world, but from deep within their walls. "What does this mean? To disappear without a trace?" she murmured, her fingers trembling as she uncovered the documents. There were names folded in silence, whispered in shadows, and a chill crept down her spine as she recognized one, her aunt, lost like a forgotten prayer. "Some pages of the past are best left unturned," the Mother Superior said, her cold voice slicing through the dim light as Marcella presented the scrolls. "But these lives, they deserve to be known." And the silence deepened, thicker than the night pressing against the window. With a wave of her hand, her fate was sealed, and Marcella was cast into solitude. In the heart of darkness, whispers become screams. The nights turned cruel. Solitude bore down on her like a vengeful spirit. But in that darkness, a flicker of hope approached. "You're not the only one who senses this weight," Sister Dominica said, her voice a low flicker of solidarity in the stillness. With trembling hands, she accepted the small parcel handed to her by Sister Dominica. "You must be brave. Others have come before you," she urged, her gaze unyielding. The whispers of rebellion danced on the winds of change. A new chaplain, fresh yet weary, stood before the gathering of sisters, declaring the birth of a place for truth within the monastery. "Let there be a hall of records, where hidden truths may no longer decay in shadows," he announced, eyes sweeping over the assembled faces, their expressions a tapestry of fear and hope. As the halls filled with voices, the past echoed around them like a ghostly hymn. Sister Marcella stood before them, a lantern of truth unyielding. "We are all lost and found in our stories," she declared, the weight of her words hanging heavy in the air. In that moment, darkness lifted. For every tale that broke the silence, another thread of the tapestry was woven. Among them stood the widow, a story etched deep in her bones. As she spoke, the pieces began to align. With each revelation, hope rekindled like sparks in the dusk. "He deserved to be remembered," the widow wept, her voice breaking. "We are the keepers of their stories now," Sister Marcella asserted with quiet resolve. If the heart learns to sing, the blood no longer chains. What would justice look like in a place with no laws? If it were your blood on that trail, would you still ride? Can a man become good by doing bad things for the right reasons? The sun rose and the shadows retreated for the first time in generations. Clarity filled the air like a sweet summer breeze. Every heart began to sing with voices forged anew, echoing against the mountains. In the threshold of that new dawn, a sign hung where silence once reigned. Sister Marcella now taught the language of light, allowing others to read and breathe the stories locked in those forgotten scripts. Open your mind. The truth is a path forged through the fire, she proclaimed, guiding her students toward understanding. As the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the land in a warm glow, the sisters knew they had forged a new legacy. If this story left dust in your throat, follow the next trail with us, exploring more tales that illuminate the hidden chapters of our past. Subscribe to Medieval Stories and become part of our journey into the heart of history. The library trembled with the weight of history, echoes of lost voices swirling in the stillness. Sister Marcella's heart swelled as she observed the others begin to gather, drawn by the flickering flame of discovery. Shadows danced across the stone walls, intertwining old stories with new dreams, and she felt a sense of belonging bloom where solitude once reigned. That first meeting in the newly established Hall of Records was a hesitant affair. Women shuffled in with downcast eyes and whispered fears. But as their stories were shared, the air thickened with conviction, unraveling threads of distrust that had woven the fabric of their existence. We owe it to them, don't we? Sister Agnes spoke, her voice breaking the pall of silence. To remember those who vanished without explanation, her words, like arrows cast into the dark, found their target. The others nodded slowly, seemingly awakening from a long slumber, their eyes brightening with a shared understanding. Fear no longer has a home amongst us, Sister Marcella urged. For every truth unveiled, we dispel the darkness. With each passing week, the core of their assembly deepened. They lost themselves in packets of letters, hastily penned accounts of everyday lives woven with untold tales. The documents, once silent, now echoed with the heartbreaks and hopes of each woman whose name twisted down in ink. Days turned into weeks, and the warmth of their gatherings became a hearth that burned between them, no longer just a flicker of flame, but an inferno of resolve. They began to form bonds that transcended fear, sisters, not only in faith, but in shared histories, united in the pursuit of justice. One evening, as twilight crept across the land, Sister Dominica arrived with a worn, leather-bound book cradled in her arms. She placed it gently on the table, her hands trembling slightly. "I found this in the back of the library." Her voice was soft, but charged with unease. "It's about those who were taken, and the stories hidden within." The women leaned in closer, the faded pages whispering secrets long buried. Marcella felt a surge of purpose. Understanding the past would be their guide to shaping the future. "Let's read it," she suggested, and the room buzzed with excitement. One by one, they took turns reading aloud, words spilling forth like water from a cracked dam. The stories unfolded like wildflowers breaking through concrete, a brother lost, a sister fading into oblivion, the echoes of lives left behind. Each name read breathed life into the hall, igniting memories that sparked within the women, haunting yet beautiful. "You're not just reading names, you're breathing life into them," Sister Agnes said one evening after reading a particularly poignant passage about a wife searching for her missing husband. Marcella nodded. "We are honoring them. Every account is a thread in our shared tapestry, connecting us through the fabric of history." As they leaned into this work, a shared purpose filled the room, desire to transform pain into strength, silence into voices that could rise above the din of oppression. The challenges they faced were daunting, the risks high. Each woman understood that revelation could provoke retaliation from those who thrived in the shadows. But what was life without risk? Sister Marcella, fueled by the love for those lost, became their beacon. Her heart pulsed with passion, emboldening others to embrace the power of knowing. "We can pave the way for justice," she declared, her voice steady and strong. "What we learn here, we will take beyond these walls." On the edge of revealing truths, the atmosphere became electric. Marcella dreamed of a day the community would gather to witness the unveiling of the stories, to compensate for the lives lost and vindicate the spirits that had been stifled. But as vulnerability enveloped the hall, an undercurrent of fear began to coil closer, wrapping around them like a tight noose. Rumors swirled in the air, whispers of rebellion traveling on the wind, and shadows loomed larger as they uncovered understandings that could not remain hidden. One afternoon, as dusk began to settle, Sister Dominica brought troubling news. "There are whispers in the village. Some say these stories should not be told, that they threaten the very foundation we stand upon." The women exchanged anxious glances, the tension palpable. "If we remain silent, we live in chains," Marcella argued, her voice rising. "We cannot allow fear to claim us again. Every life, every story matters. It's time to reclaim our narrative." Her fervor spread throughout the hall, igniting their fears but transforming them into courage. They were battling more than ghosts. The stakes had elevated, and the stakes were personal. "We must find a way to share this beyond our confines," Sister Agnes confirmed, her voice anchored with determination. "The world needs to know our losses cannot be in vain." In those darkening moments, it was as if the air was pregnant with purpose, the weight of their aspirations pressing down like an ancient secret yearning to burst free. And so, they gathered once more, not just to share their stories, but to craft the first signs of justice, a script infused with their courage and resolve. "Let's create a record, a letter of truth," Marcella proposed, her eyes glimmering with a fire that pulled them closer. "But we do it collectively, our voices woven into one." The collective agreement ignited a wildfire, each woman bringing their heart and soul into crafting a manifesto of the truth, resonating with souls who had been forced into silence. That night, under a canopy of stars heavy with secrets, their hearts united once more. As the ink dried, the girls put their names next to their stories, eternal signatures woven into a promise, binding them in their crusade for justice. And Sister Marcella smiled, knowing their tale would one day be a flame of hope, guiding lost souls back to light. If this tale stirred something profound within you, let it become part of our next journey. Subscribe to Medieval Stories and join us as we unravel more mysteries threaded through the annals of history together. As dawn broke across the horizon, the library glowed like a beacon of hope, illuminating the faces of the gathered sisters. They had worked tirelessly, their hearts and hands vigorously crafting the letter of truth. Each stroke of the quill felt like a heartbeat, each word infused with unyielding spirit. They gathered around a long wooden table, the air thick with both resolve and anticipation. Sunlight streamed through dusty windows, dust motes dancing as if cherishing the moment of creation. Sister Marcella stood before them, the ink still fresh on the page. "This letter is our stand," she began, her voice steadfast. "It is a declaration not only of our shared grief, but of our commitment to ensure that these lives, these stories are never forgotten again." With each voice that followed hers, a ripple of strength surged through the room. The ladies took turns reading sections aloud, their voices rising and falling in a haunting melody that echoed through the rafters. Each name spoke volumes: mothers, brothers, lost souls who once threaded laughter and love into the fabric of their community. "This isn't just about our past," Sister Dominica emphasized, her gaze piercing. "It's about holding those in power accountable. It's about dismantling the silence that binds us." As they signed their names, an act of defiance, of unity, Sister Marcella felt a warmth flood through her. Fear began to dissipate like morning mist, replaced by a fierce sense of purpose. Once the last signature was inked, Sister Marcella gathered them in a circle. "We stand on the brink of change. This is the dawn of our awakening." But amidst their celebration, anxiety gnawed at the edges of their hearts. The stakes were higher now, and the fear of retaliation loomed larger as their voices grew louder. "We must be ready," Marcella warned, her tone somber. "The world outside may not welcome our truth." As they prepared to unveil the letter to the community, the sisters worked diligently to gather their thoughts and tactics. They met in hushed tones in the library, strategizing the manner in which they would present their findings. "What if we gathered everyone for a meeting in town?" Sister Agnes suggested one evening, her brow furrowed with concern. "Let them hear our voices in unison," Marcella replied, the idea taking root. "A public meeting will show our strength, our commitment to those lost, and our refusal to be silenced." As the plan shaped into reality, Marcella felt the vibrations of urgency surge around her. The once quiet corridors of the monastery echoed the thunder of anticipation. They spread the word to villagers, individuals desperate for the truth, as well as many who had been displaced by the shadows of ignorance. Momentum grew, and as the day approached, the hall filled with faces eager for clarity. When the evening arrived, a cool breeze wafted through the opening doors. Marcella could see the crowd assembled, faces lined with curiosity, concern, and a shared sense of vulnerability. She took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs before stepping into the light. The murmurs faded into silence, and like fingers reaching out, she felt the heavy gaze of her sisters behind her. "Thank you all for gathering here tonight," she began, her voice steady and clear. "We stand before you not only as sisters of the monastery, but as women bearing witness to the truths long hidden within our walls." The crowd listened, breaths held as she unfolded the letter. She could feel the tension among them, the weight of expectations. These stories resonate within each of us, binding us to the memories of those who disappeared, those who were deprived of their voices. One by one, they passed the letter through the audience, allowing fingers to graze over the names penned there. The air became thick with emotion, hearts knitting tighter as the truth seeped into every soul present. As the final words dripped from her lips, Sister Marcella felt the energy shift in the hall, an electricity sparking among the people. The invitation for openness kindled into a flame of connection. But just as hope flourished, the wind shifted. A figure emerged from the shadows, a man clad in authority, the mayor of the town, his expression solemn and cold. What is this farce? His voice rumbled, slicing through the newfound warmth. The women stiffened, eyes darting towards Sister Marcella. But she held her ground, resolute. This is not a farce. This is truth, a mirror, reflecting the lives that have intersected ours, lives deserving of remembrance and justice. The mayor's brow furrowed. You threaten the sanctity of this community with your whispering. Do not presume you can unravel the fabric of our way of life. No, Marcella replied, her voice rising above the anxious murmurs. We are stitching together a new fabric, one woven with honesty, one that acknowledges our past without shame. A community that embraces its truth can only grow stronger. Gasps filled the hall, and the atmosphere changed. The women behind her stood taller, their resolve fortified by Marcella's words. This isn't just about us. It's about those who went silent because they feared the repercussions of speaking out. Sister Dominica added, her voice firm and clarion. The mayor shifted uncomfortably, the crowd's murmur rising in intensity, emboldened by the sister's courage. Your hearts are brave, he relented, reluctantly admitting. But do you not see the risk you take? The anger of those who may wish to silence you? If we remain silent, we die 100 deaths buried in the weight of unspoken truths. Marcella replied, her voice steady and true. Anger and fear culminated into a single punch of rebellion, a rallying cry against years of oppression. The faces around the hall shifted, curiosity peering through the veil of fear. Sister Marcella had sparked something within them. Suddenly, Sister Agnes raised her hand. It quivered slightly, but her voice rang pure. We choose the path of truth, as painful as it may be. Our lives are dictated by the stories we carry. Let those who fear us see us united. A murmur of agreement rippled through the hall, voices growing louder as they too offered their strength to the cause. Faces turned toward the mayor as moments passed. He realized the tide had shifted. Then let it be so, he relented, slowly backing down. Annoyance lingering, but wisdom dawning. If you must walk this road, so be it. But remember, the light casts long shadows. With those words, the mayor backed away, allowing the sisters to reclaim their space. The air crackled with energy, like a storm waiting to break. So we stand together. Marcella drew in a sharp breath. And from this moment forward, we will forge a new path. One where our truths will not only resonate in our hearts, but flow openly like rivers that connect us all. The hall burst into applause, energy surging through every corner, spirits believing anew. Let it be heard, she concluded, eyes scanning the crowd. Let it be felt. Together, we will invoke change, not out of hate, but love. Love for those who shaped our lives and those who came before us. If you felt inspired by this tale of courage and togetherness, subscribe to Medieval Stories and join our journey as we uncover more hidden truths and tales from the annals of history. The applause echoed in the hall like thunder, reverberating through the hearts of all present. Sister Marcella felt the energy swell around her, the warmth of conviction drawing them together beneath the same shared sky. As the clamor faded, she knew they had crossed an unseen threshold. A transformation had taken root. Sister Dominica stepped forward, emboldened by the moment. Let us not wait for tomorrow to act, she urged, her voice carrying the weight of purpose. Let us gather the stories of those who came before us and ensure they are honored. The sisters nodded in unison, the flames of determination rekindling in their chests. Each woman understood that this was just the beginning. What had been hidden would now be explored, the past awakened with fervent passion. The crowd thinned as people dispersed into the night, but the sisters lingered, huddled together against the chill, tangible excitement dancing in the air. They outlined plans to gather more accounts, to seek out those who still remained, carrying the weight of their kin lost to time. Marcella could feel the pull of something vast and essential stirring deep within her, a connection to roots that had long been buried. Weeks rolled on, marked by hard work and growing resolve. Women from the village came forward, compelled by the truths unveiled in the gathering. They brought their stories, shedding light on the shadows that had cradled their deaths and disappearances, each tale a piece of the collective puzzle. Sister Marcella took on the role of leader, her tenacity turning into a beacon that attracted others. It wasn't long before discussions in the library turned spirited voices, rose and fell like tides, each sister sharing thoughts and ideas about how to document their memories while weaving them into the fabric of community life. But as momentum swelled, so did the threat of opposition. Unknown to them, whispers of fear permeated the village, backbiting some who had feared the upheaval and the stirring of buried discontent. One evening, as a cold frost crept into the corners of the monastery, a delegation arrived at the gates. Their faces were hard, expressions resolute. Standing at the forefront was the mayor, flanked by men accustomed to power. "We've come to speak with you," he announced, voice thick with authority. Sister Marcella's heart raced. She felt the tension in the air, a palpable charge thrumming through the sisters gathered behind her. She stepped forward defiantly, meeting the mayor's gaze unwaveringly. "You all know why we're here," he continued, ire flickering beneath the surface. "This path you're weaving disturbs the fabric of our community. Claims of lost souls demand acknowledgement, but they invite chaos. It's best to leave the past buried. You risk unraveling what we've built." Marcella took a step closer. "We honor our past to build a stronger future. Truth is not chaos. It's freedom. We cannot proceed burdened by secrets." The mayor's expression hardened. "Your ideology may seem noble, but who will bear the consequences? Think of the fallout if your findings disturb those who prefer a quaint existence over your truths." With fierce determination, Sister Dominica stepped up beside Marcella, her chin raised defiantly. "We grow strong in sharing our truth, not weak. Fear sits heavier than knowledge, and it will not go unchallenged." Around them, the tension in the air intensified, a storm gathering force. The mayor's men exchanged wary glances, sensing the unwavering conviction between the sisters. "One last chance," the mayor warned, his voice icy. "Withdraw your claims and cease gathering stories that threaten the peace of our village. It would be best for all. Peace built on ignorance isn't peace at all." Marcella shot back, her voice resolute. "If those in power threaten us because we seek justice for those who suffer in silence, then perhaps we need to shine a light on that darkness. We will not back down." The room fell silent, the weight of their words hanging in the air. The men shifted uneasily, weighed by the gravity of the sisters' resolve. Unspoken fears, once hidden, now laid bare before them. "Then prepare yourselves," the mayor finally spat, venom lacing his words. "Your choice to disrupt the status quo will not yield consequences, simply lost in the shadows." As he turned away, the sisterhood stood firm in their ground. Marcella took a step forward, determination etching every line of her face. Her heart trembled with uncertainty, yet the stronger beat of defiance pushed against it. Once the mayor and his men departed, the sisters huddled together, adrenaline coursing through them. The atmosphere brimmed with fear and solidarity, a marriage of vulnerability and strength. "We cannot retreat now," Marcella breathed, glancing at the faces around her. "These truths are worth fighting for. We've opened a door, and now we must pursue our path." "Let us turn this threat into strength," Sister Agnes replied, the embers of resolve igniting once more. "We will show them the power of our unity." The sisters gathered around a table strewn with records, their resolve emerging as a fortress built on the roots of remembrance. They dedicated themselves to create not only the narratives of lost souls, but the tangible futures they wished to build. Days morphed into nights as they transformed the library into a war room. Research fanned flames of courage, notebooks filled with annotations that detailed lives, both the stories they had unearthed and the strength of the sisterhood that would not bend or break. As tensions simmered under the surface of their community, Marcella felt the dawn's light pulse against the horizon, a new beginning shaped not only by the darkness of their past, but by the strength of their united voices. It was time to hold a town assembly, an invitation to the entire village, beckoning them to witness the fruits of their labors. This would be their stand, a defiance not merely against silence, but a resounding affirmation of life, love, and the power of truth. If this story resonates with you, join us on this journey, Marcella proclaimed to the assembled sisters. Subscribe to Medieval Stories, and together let's dive into more tales of courage and resilience that shape our history and inspire our future.